Cool. All right. So I think we're live here on Facebook. Typically, we use this webinar tool called Zoom, and it adds another layer, a slight delay, but we also can record the video on the cloud and store all that content in our database. But for some reason, it didn't work. And it also hooks up with YouTube, but then YouTube is gonna take another 24 hours for some kind of verification. And so, I have content that I want to let out now before I forget. So Facebook is gonna get to keep all our content. There is a competition there from Facebook and YouTube or Google, that they are, the more content they have on their platform, the more valuable the platform is. And so I guess Facebook has won this battle. We wanted to try. I was hoping to try YouTube, but YouTube is getting too long. So this is my first time trying just Facebook Live from the page, and I want to talk about organization. I want to talk about, how, especially when you are starting small, it's very easy to be unstructured, right? So we have 24 hours a day. So let's think about this from an employee mindset also, right? As employees, when you're working a particular set of hours, your life is very structured. Right? Yeah, I'm going to be working for this much of time, and then I'm going to have the rest of the time off, and I'm going to be spending this much time doing this, spending this much time doing this. Like you, as an employee, if your work schedule is structured and it's set, it's very easy to have a structured life, and you're much more, I guess. You know where you're gonna be at what time, most of the time, and then the rest of your time, that's your personal time. You spend it however way you want. Some folks tend to be a little bit less structured than others, but in order for you to have that focus in life to execute and to accomplish, you need to be very structured, because you need to set time to do work, and then you gotta set time to play. And so for you to kind of keep growing as a person, it doesn't matter if you're an entrepreneur or you are in the work world, in the corporate world, is that if you're more structured and you can manage your time very well, you're going to be more productive, right? So that's the value of having a structured organization as soon as you can. So we are making this realization now. What happens is, when we were just starting and we were small, the time is I would say, not as valuable, right? And so we are just trying to fill our calendar, fill our schedule with appointments, or starting events, or keeping ourselves busy, because we know that the more we do, the more activities we do, the more we're going to find out what works and what doesn't, and we're going to be able to pivot. And so in the early days, especially with a company that doesn't have an existing business model to follow, right? We're a startup company, so it was a lot of activities. And we very quickly became very busy. But when your life is kind of unstructured, here's a good thing, right? The really good thing about having an unstructured lifestyle is that it nurtures your creativity. So if right, because the more rigid you are, the less creative you are, because you're going to be thinking that you are in a box with a lot of rules. So when you don't have as much structure, then your brain tends to start wandering a little more and have more different kind of thoughts. and those are the ones that can become very creative ideas. So with being unstructured is something that I would always recommend that you do. Like let's say you pick one day on your weekend and just like absolutely not have anything, and you get very, very relaxed, right? Some of you may even choose to sleep all day, and you feel very, very relaxed. And when you are more relaxed, your mind is going to come up with a lot of good ideas, right? Or at least interesting ideas. And so you can be more creative, and you can appreciate art and other people's creation a lot more, and you're going to have more creativity. But creativity is good if you rein it in, if you kind of keep it under control. So what you want to have, you want to allow yourself like brainstorming sessions, per se, or any other type of, like going on vacation, not thinking about work, and the more structured life is going to help you nurture that creativity. But then what you give up in creativity is productivity, right? When you are productive and you're actually making things, you also need to be more structured. If you're more structured, you're going to accomplish more. So I think that's always the struggle with artists and all the creative people, is that sometimes when you're too relaxed, right? When you're too relaxed, you can't really make things happen. So writer's block, or I can't put anything on the paint that's creative. Like you have that mental block when you become too creative, and you kind of need to find that balance between activity and creativity, and be in that middle for you to really make things happen, right? To create things. So we are learning now that because we have been so creative, and we've been able to make so many things happen, but I think we are now too creative to be in the organization that we're in, because we have so many folks that are working with us, and it's not just us being productive, but it's also everybody else spending their time efficiently and effectively, so that we can make more productivity done. And so while we engage into those brainstorming sessions, it needs to be planned, and it needs to be kind of everybody is now encouraged to brainstorm, and we let those ideas out in those sessions, because when you're in regular meetings, if we entertain every single idea, then we don't finish the agenda that we originally set out to accomplish. So we now we take our meetings very seriously. So we always have an agenda. We have a owner for that meeting, and that owner is supposed to come up with a list of agenda that the team needs to go through to accomplish those business goals. And after each meeting, we're gonna start having meeting minutes. So for the people who miss the meeting, they can go back and look at those minutes. Documentation is very important when it comes to a bigger part of business. So you can have that information flow. So we're gonna take those that are observed in the corporate world. Those are now applicable for our business, and we need to start making those happen, and we're going to become a more professional organization. So we always need to find that balance, right? So how can we stay between activity and creativity? And I think the best organizations would have a marriage of the two, a very happy marriage of the two. And so now when we're thinking about touring other companies' workspaces and stuff, what we're looking for is how they structure their building and how they try to nurture I guess the culture that they are trying to build and what they want to do. And I think the culture that we want to build is in that happy medium. We don't want to be too rigid in the corporate world because then it becomes too it stifles creativity. That was the reason I escaped. It stifles creativity, and I wouldn't want to create an organization like that. So we want to have a creativity as a center of it, but we also want to have a lot of I would say productive structure for the company, so that we have the basis to go. So those are all the things that either I have to figure it out and think about, or follow somebody else's recommended structure. And I think those, if somebody can provide somewhat of a baseline, then we can be creative about it. I think we would love to do that, or maybe there's a perfect one that we can just follow. Because the first time you always you learn by following, and then you start gaining expertise in it, and then you start becoming the master yourself, and you can tweak it and make it right. So, but those are very key things to keep a company structured. But here's the thing, right? So when you're just starting, that would be my recommendation. Is Grant Cardone was saying, too much. You don't fail by having too much activity if you're hungry. So there's execution and a strategy. Strategy makes sure that your effort is going in the right direction, and the execution is making sure that the strategy happens. So you need to have also a balance of the two to have a really productive type of company, because you want to be heading in the right direction, and then you want to motivate everybody to do those executions. And so, but the more you can execute, the more you realize that the strategy is wrong, right? If you're going down the wrong strategy, and then you can course correct. So it's all about the level of activities and how can you increase productivity for your company. It is a huge headache or a huge concern of ours. So we'll talk about productivity in another episode. I think that's a very good topic. Oh, let me write this down. I need to start writing down stuff, otherwise I'll forget. So an episode is about productivity. Oops. Bad pen. Productivity. We can have. I think my mind is too much on this being in front of the camera right now. I can't be very creative right now. So we have. Okay, so we were talking about a balance. So let me just talk one more point about a balance. So we just talked about a balance of activity and creativity, strategy and execution, and then there's also work-life balance. And a little bit related to the work-life balance, I was debating if I wanted to do this video on my own account or on the Real Estate IQ account. Quite a bit of this is business, right? But it's also kind of a lot of sharing of how different things is spurring my realizations, and a lot of that is from life. But I think a lot of the folks in the Real Estate IQ audience could use this the topics that I talk about. So I think I'm gonna keep that in the work side, and then share on the life side, the family and friends, you guys can, I think when you watch this, you can catch up on what's happening with Steve, right? I mentioned in the last episode that, our time is a little more limited. And so having limited time, we're not, I'm not able to visit home as often and see and hang out with friends as often. So now the interactions need to be like very focused and very power charged. How much can we catch up in the limited amount of time that we have? And sometimes it's just like hanging out and being around each other. And I think I could spend more time, right? I was still working every day in the morning. But now we have a venue to kind of share with everyone, kind of catching up on what Steve is doing, and I think that's a good one. And then the reason I want to talk about work-life balance is because it has to do with the concept of time, and it was still a little bit of what we mentioned in the last episode. So kind of the value of our time and work-life balance is actually very very much related. So in the corporation, we always, that was my dog. Let's see. All right. I guess she has left the room. Sorry about the noise. So with the concept of time and being structured and unstructured, I think these are all very related themes, because when you live in a more structured life, let's say you're doing the 9 to 5 job, then there's always a dollar per hour that you can calculate, right? You can probably do that very easily for most of you who are in the corporate world, in working for the bigger companies. And the worth of your time, and so you demand that worth of your time. No matter what you do, you are being a professional, right? So what happens when you start moving to the business world is that you need to throw that concept behind, because you're not worth that much anymore, right? You're gonna be worth very little in the beginning, and you're gonna try to make your time worth as much as you can, and there's no limit to that number, how much you're gonna be making in an hour, right? So or you can just stop thinking about the value of time, and think about that the key resource in our life is our time. There's no dollar attached to that. So to say that there's a value in my time is actually putting a box around the concept of time. There's no value of time, because time is invaluable. It is the only resource that we have in life, aside from whatever keeps us alive. So having and treating your time in that manner is gonna ultimately help you live a better life, right? So the corporate is taking the concept of work-life balance, that there needs to be a demarcation between the two. I disagree with that, right? There's no separation, and there's no demarcation between work and life. It's all one life, and that's actually one of my I guess my informal mentors told me the first month I was at work. I go, what's up with work-life balance? He says, there's no work-life balance. It's all about just life, and it's balancing. There's still a balancing act, but it's balancing your different things that makes you happy, right? So a lot of people that work a lot, they are workaholics. I would say that I am one as well, because work gives me happiness. It brings me happiness. And through work, I guess I'm working right now, through work, I find a lot of fulfillment in the work that I do. And so, being able to impact as much people as possible, including our own organization. Actually, that's how it got started. Being kind of sharing those stories for the organization is what made me realize that I can also do it here. So, but all this is work, right? I'm taking the time away from my family. So it's really just kind of like doing one thing. It's like your hobby that pays, and you love what you do and you do it, and combining that with family, which should bring you joy and happiness, and if not, you need to spend a little more time there. You need to invest more of your time there, and kind of juggling between the two, or like kind of balancing between the two, because both sides make you happy and you want both sides to be happy. So that's really what the core of work-life balance is. And I don't think setting a number of hours is a fair thing. It's setting out number of hours. I'm only gonna work 40 hours a week. I'm only gonna work this many hours. Is a we're putting we're now saying that one is more important than the other. And I think both are important for your happiness. So how much time you spend in work that creates that happiness for you, and how much you spend with your family and life, right? But everything is life, right? With family, and that can bring you that happiness, that is how you should be striving for, right? So if you are doing things that you don't love to do, right? If you're working and you don't love your job, you know, find something that you love to do. You have to. You owe that to yourself, because our life is short. But now, if you want to start jumping into the entrepreneurial journey, and really pursue what we call a lot of freedom, right? For a lot of control and our freedom and how we spend our lives, because we are throwing that box out, right? We're breaking out that box, and we make those realizations sooner. And so it's all about how you spend. This is how I manage my time. I have a calendar, right? I always manage my calendar very well. But now I do it kind of based on. I always put my wife's calendar together, right? Because we want to make sure that we can spend some time together, quality time together, right? And we maintain our happiness and maintain a happy marriage. And then all the other time, on my weekends, there's my day and then there's her day. So on my day, I do whatever I love to do. If I love to work, I'm going to work. If I want to take that day off, I'm going to take the day off. And so once we started doing that, it's much better, because now I'm not really, dreading the weekend. I'm like, oh, if I work, she's not going to be happy. Right? So we kind of set a little bit of, again, it's a little bit of rule setting, right? Like we set a little bit of there, and so mentally we would just do things that make that person happy. We focus on that person, right? To maintain that that good relationship. We just focus on me, like whatever I want to do. I have mentioned that I love eating good food, and if it has to be that I'm gonna be cooking a very, very nice meal, and spending the time to do it, that day is mine. I can do whatever I want to do. Or if I have to make a big push at work, I'm gonna spend that to work, because that is my happiness. And then on Sunday, we try to do that, and I need to be doing a better job at it. We want to spend the other day on just her, and what she wants to accomplish as a couple. And then now we have a little bit of that, a balance there. And then on the weekdays, it's we try to spend as much weeknights together as possible. And then all the other times, I'm trying to be as productive as possible, right? Because I'm the CEO of the company, so the more, right, when you're in the higher positions, the more you can produce, right? And I'm talking about everything, right? Whether it's structuring the organization and all that, the more we can produce that can get ourselves step back more and more, and we spend less time doing it, the better, So all that is my priority. I'm trying to gain my life back more and more, so I can do more things that I also enjoy doing. In these past 5 years, we have given up a lot. I love having good food, and eating very healthy, and having a healthy lifestyle. And it's very easy to focus on one thing, and then next thing you know, you stop working out, you start eating badly, um, and it's right. So I need to make that change. I want to gain my life back, and then also appreciating art. I have recently gained a lot of appreciation for just kind of human creations, because I am older now. I'm a little more mature, and I understand the art a lot more. And so I want to spend more time doing that. I want to spend more time go on vacations and all that. So, but we can't do that unless we really, really structure the company to a point where I can step out. And so the more, and these past couple of years, we have been able to achieve quite a bit. Last year, we were, what did I say? We have made a great stride in what we were able to do. So Juan Carlos and I, last year, we were taking maybe like a 1 week vacation, and we had to take turns doing it. And this year I left for 2 weeks, and he took about a month off. I'm taking some time off for this upcoming wedding celebration. And so we're taking more time off, because now we have very high quality people that are able to hold down the fort and make things happen. And it's night and day between having good people and bad people. It was with good people, then now we're thinking about making sure the company is more structured, because when you don't have good people, you're still fighting the fires all the time. You don't have the luxury to think about structuring the company. So I'm able to keep stepping out from the operational role and start worrying about the higher level stuff, because that's what the company needs. And the more we can spend time doing that and build that infrastructure, the quicker we can step away more, and also achieve the dream, right? Because we want to keep pushing the technology and the product and the growth of the company to a national level, and we're going to do that. So talk about work-life balance, and the past 2 days I decided to take most of the time off, and I was thinking about doing that today, but now I'm dressed for the camera. I may as well go to work before it's time, right? I have to get ready, and then I also have to drive about 20-30 minutes to the office. But at the office, I can accomplish so much more. The setup is there. I need to do a lot of recording, so I've been kind of procrastinating a little bit to kind of relax and gain a little more perspective, a different perspective of how I want to kind of continue to drive, and right, we want to take the steering wheel in our life, right, and what we do and how we spend our time and how we want to build different things in our lives. And so always recommend having a good vacation, and kind of the more you can do that, the more you can drive the company better. So these are all key things. Like, we don't really think about ourselves anymore. We're thinking about what's good for the organization, and what and from my time, how much time makes sense to invest into the company to create certain results, because company needs it. and how much time do I need to put in my family because my family needs it, and myself, and I need it. And so that is a Chinese. I think there's some kind of Chinese proverb that you need to take care of yourself before you can take care of your family, before you can take care of the country. So in this case, we're talking about just an organization. It's not as big as a country, uh, but I've been focusing on one thing. I'm trying to bring it, and that's the work-life balance. Just how much I spend the time, not the value of my time is this much. I think that is uh, because when you have a limit in the value of your time, then you become, so we're always thinking about things in terms of money, right? Oh, how much is going to cost us? How much is going to cost us? It's how much time it's going to cost you. uh, as Asians, we always were taught, like, when you hire a housekeeper, it's a big deal because you have made it, you're successful, blah blah blah. But we don't. I don't really think that. I think I'm very down to earth, and I think if I have the time to do it, uh, cleaning up the house is kind of like working out. It's enjoyable. You can find happiness and flow in that. But right now, I have no patience to do that because my time is best spent elsewhere. So now we have to hire a housekeeper to keep the house clean. And like, I was struggling. I was like, should I tell my parents? Are they gonna scold at me? But I think that is valuing our time. Having a high value, because our value of time is infinite, right? There's no limit, and so the more we can spend the time doing what our strength is, the more we can create a bigger difference, right, in the world. No matter how what you define the difference and what you define in the world. So that's it. That's the end of my episode today. The key thing to recap, we talk about being unstructured in your life versus being structured, and having the balance in that. We talked about from a company standpoint, execution and strategy. You always need a balance in that. Don't have when you have too many ideas, then you are all over the place. You want to be very focused in your strategy and your ideas, and then you execute the heck out of that strategy. And so those are very important, and you got balance to do. And also talked about work-life balance, and really at the core of it is the value of your time, right? It's infinite. The only currency we have in life is time, and so how we want to invest, to put it in different things that makes us happy is a very key one, to make sure you keep in mind, and do it differently. If you're early in your career, invest the time in improving yourself. Learn those skill sets that you need to be successful. And if you want to start your own and be on your own, start building up that runway, right? Build out a runway so that you can make it happen. You have the time to make it happen. Everything, if you try hard enough, I think you will go somewhere. You'll get somewhere. And so the most regret is when you could have gone somewhere, but you don't try your best. So you want to try your best and try your best until you get to the point that you want to be, and it's perseverance. So if you are early in your career, I feel like I'm talking to my younger self. That's what I would do. If you are already kind of in the middle of your career, I would say do what makes you happy. There's we meet a lot of folks in that stage, because you have a family, you can't take too much risk, and so find out how to make work enjoyable, and you also have other times in your life, and how to spend some time to make yourself happy and make yourself enjoyable. work, everything needs to be enjoyable. Every aspect in our life needs to be very enjoyable, and we love to do so we can be successful in all fronts. And so that is, I would say, the key to work-life balance is how can we succeed in both fronts, but because we're spending the time, right? The time, how do we want to spend the time? All right, that's it. Thank you for joining me, and for those of you who are watching on at later times, topics, right? So I'm always looking for topics. If you have any questions, do it on send an email to mailbag@realestateiq.co. That's mailbag@realestateiq.co. Any kind of topic you want want me to discuss, our expertise is in deal analysis and deal finding and marketing, right? And I guess management and business execution, we have certain level of expertise. So if you are in any stage, in your business or in your leap of faith to the entrepreneurial world, you have any questions or any topics that you want to go over, we'd love to bring those out and address that, because I think that's very important. I think everything that we can do is our mindset. If we have the right mindset, right, we're gonna make it. We're gonna accomplish more, and there's really no limit in what we can achieve. It's all about how we set our goals and our boundaries. If your expectation is higher, you're gonna achieve more. So that's it. Thank you. We will talk again. And my real estate talk is this evening at 6 p.m. If you want to make it, we're going to talk about the DFW real estate deals market update. It's going to be a very interesting one. We're going to take about 30 minutes talking about that. We're going to talk about the macro level, and then we're going to go into the big major counties in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, and we're going to look into the statistics in those areas. Make sure you join us. I think you'll gain a lot from that if you're in the real estate business. Thanks, guys.